Miami Dolphins and the Buffalo Bills in the, oh my God, I can't believe they left this in the early window game of the week. Like, what in the hell? Like, I mean, dude, move this into a spot where more people can see it. We've got a billion D early games yet again, and then only 3 afternoon games, but so is the way the NFL schedules things. Sitting right now, an expensive 2.5 or a cheap 3 in favor of the Bills at home over the Dolphins. 53.5 is your prevailing total. Steven, I don't have a single bet in my account for this one. I'm going to sit down. This one's going to be the one that's on the main TV. This is going to be the one that's got the sound on. This is the one I'm watching. I'm super, super excited for this game, but the range of outcomes, in my opinion, now, there are a lot of people who disagree with me this week. A lot of people are dead set on one side or the other in this, and they think that it's going to go a certain way. I think the range of outcomes is very wide because anytime there's a strength on strength matchup, I don't really exactly know where to go. I mean, the Miami Dolphins pass offense versus the Bills pass defense is strength on strength. And so who's going to win? Your guess is as good as mine. The Dolphins do get Waddle back this week, so that is something to throw in there. But I can't wait to watch this one. Not going to put it in the account.
I think this game is an opinion game. I don't think there's any particular edge when you're looking at the spread in this one. I think the offense for the Bills is a lot closer to what we've seen the first 2 weeks than what we saw in week 1. I agree with that. But also I am taking the Buffalo defensive metrics with a big grain of salt at this point because they face Zach Wilson, Jimmy Garoppolo, and Sam Howell. So I don't know if the Bills defense is actually elite at this point with a defense that is posting the number 1 defensive line and adjusted sack rate and the number 4 pressure rate, despite blitzing at the number 30 rate in the league. So at the same time, I'm not sure this is the matchup that they can take advantage of with those stats because the Miami offensive line is number 2 in adjusted sack rate, and Tua is getting rid of the ball faster than any quarterback in the NFL at 2.34 seconds per dropback. So that might neutral itself out. For me, I just kind of want to look at this holistically. What did Buffalo do in the offseason to get better this year? And I guess you can argue maybe Josh Allen's healthier from what we saw at the end of last year, but at least in terms of talent on the roster and coaching, I don't see really any big difference in Buffalo versus last year. I think they're a team that's going to beat up on the teams at the bottom of the league and then have to play really competitive games against the top 5 teams in the NFL. And I don't see any reason to come off of my bullishness of Miami at this point when everybody's healthy. So this is another, Discord special. It's not going to help anybody now, but the Discord members and I bet Miami plus 3.5 on the look ahead in this game, because as long as we could get out of that game without injuries, we thought Miami plus 3.5 with what we've seen with their offense was bonkers at this point. And maybe we're wrong, but that's a great number as we stand right now as we get closer to kickoff. So no reason to try and middle the 3 here with what I think about Buffalo. I think Miami's for real. It's just an opinion. There's no market edge here in my opinion. So we'll see what happens.
Adam, I wanted to come on here and give a giant opinion on why Devon Achan's number, whatever prop number was going to be way too high, and that we could come in and play the under on that. They have not posted yet, so they're not up. And so because of that, that take can't be given right now. I will say this. Take a look at what Achan's number is listed at whenever it actually does get posted after his monster game last week. It might be skewed a little bit too high when it all comes down to it. The Bills have a pretty good run defense, and I imagine that the Dolphins, if they're going to have success, it's probably going to be trying to take advantage of all those skill players through the air. So again, that's kind of maybe the only angle here to try to get in on all of that. But again, nothing posted as we go at it right now. What do you look at in this one?
Well, I have to just give a slight pushback on what Steven put out there in terms of Miami, because they're not healthy. Jalen Phillips has been ruled out of this game. Teron Armstead's going to be a game time decision. Those are a couple of really important pieces. And I know they were able to get around it in week 1 with Teron Armstead being out, but I also feel like Buffalo is a team that's going to challenge that a little bit more than what we saw out of the Los Angeles Chargers. Right now, you know that I was the one who came on here in week 1 and said, I'm really heavy on Miami. I'm trying to talk myself into a little bit of patience with Miami. I could see taking Miami as a teaser leg here and getting 8.5 points, because when we talk about the ability to cover a teaser, you want a team that can chase from behind, right? And there isn't a team in the NFL that is more equipped to chase from behind than this Miami side is, right? I don't necessarily love either side of this spread. I do think that with this thing out to, well, I mean, I don't know what the latest number was. It 54 or we're back to 53 and a half?
53 and a half is the prevailing.
Yeah. I mean, I've been happier at 54 to think about an under, which I know has been sacrilege to talk about that. But 24-17, Miami versus the New England Patriots. And it's the one good defense that we've seen them play, right? The Chargers are abysmally bad, and the Denver Broncos, I'm pretty sure half of them were on the plane back at halftime from Miami last week. So, I know that everything about what we've seen out of Miami is fantastic, and I'm not going to call this a sell high spot on them, but I cannot advocate for anything more than a teaser when it comes to this game for the Miami Dolphins.
Listen, the other reason I think an under is at least decent if this thing, specifically the thing ticks back up, because people come in, they get excited for this game on Sunday morning, and this thing ticks back up, is I'm not convinced that Buffalo doesn't come out and try to run the ball on Miami. Like they seem very willing to use Cook. Like, he's been really efficient so far. He's been
Fine by
good.
me. Fine by me. If you want to take the ball out of Josh Allen's hands, by all means, go right ahead.
Well, Matt, to what Steven just said, that's the other thing that I forgot to mention before. Steven said, what did Buffalo do to get better? Well, they fixed the interior offensive line. Last year, they were the 28th PFF run blocking team. This year, they're middle of the pack so far at 15th. I do think, Matt, that they are more equipped to run the ball if they need to run the ball, and they're not taking the ball out of Josh Allen's hands. They're taking the ball out of Tua's hands.
So two final notes for me, Matt.
Yeah.
Let's see what Vic Fangio brings to this matchup. That's new from last year. I want to see what he brings. Maybe he saved a little bit, disguise a little bit, maybe try and trick Josh Allen a little bit. And let's also not forget that Miami ran in that second meeting in Buffalo last year when they actually were healthy. Raheem Mostert ran for 8 yards per carry against Buffalo as well. So both teams might be able to run the ball really well here.
Yeah, Josh Allen's rushing yards sitting at 35.5 right now. It won't, in my opinion, it won't be for lack of carries. Now, it might be for lack of efficiency, but it won't be for lack of carries. Like, I think he ends up with 8 to 10 carries in this game. And, again, it depends on the efficiency that he has with it or whatever. But I think that's at least an interesting look as well for Josh Allen in this one. But man, guys, I can't wait for this game. Looking forward to it so much. These are two teams legitimately that are going to be there at the end when we're having discussions about everything.